Hello and welcome back, fellow survivors. It's me, your host, Buff Daddy, and I'm here to walk you through the jaw dropping episode that we just witnessed of Survivor Season 50, Episode 11. Yes, have I told you? No, I haven't yet about Survivor Season 50, Episode 11. Do you know what we call this season? It's in the hands of the fans. I like that. I hope you do too. But before we dive in, I always must thank each and every one of you who's taken the 7.6 seconds it takes to either hit the like button, go down to the comments, tell me what you like, talk about the episode with me. The dislike button, go down to the comments and tell me what a goof I am and how wrong I am. Or the subscribe button if you'd always like to get notified when my episodes come out. Tend to try to drop episodes on Wednesdays and Saturdays. But sometimes there's other episodes that come in there. Been playing a little bit of arcade games online, and just sending that out so you'd get notified when those things happen. It also helps keep the show, uh, it keeps the show's head above water with the YouTube algorithm by people actually interacting with it. So thank you guys so much for anyone who's doing that. Yes, even the dislikes mean a lot to me. Thank you. This show couldn't continue without you, and I cherish each and every one of you with this warm Buff Daddy heart. Now, with all this YouTube jazz out of the way, let's head down to camp. Let's see what's shaking. Now, Survivor Season 50, Episode 11 is titled Everyone Will Be Shooketh. And it featured a historic revoked immunity win. A massive twist giving one of the players a power broker advantage. It had another double elimination that sent home what many consider to be one of the goats of the game. And then just the second player is just a goat. Just how it works out. So we begin the episode with the final 9 returning from tribal after Stephanie's elimination. The mood is tense, of course. The pot for the game, the winnings, has now been doubled to 2 million, thanks to Rick Devens taking his entire game and putting it on the results of a coin flip. And he was successful with that Mr. Beast Super Beware coin flip. And now the tribe has to recalibrate, especially since he blew everyone's game up during tribal last week. So let's head down to camp and see what's going on. We started out, by the way, before I get to what you're seeing on screen, with Rizzo letting us know that he had just experienced the greatest day of Survivor in his life. Oh, with the exception of the day when I actually win season 50. Vintage Rizzo. Aubrey and Devens then hit the hammock together and again begin the love fest of patting each other on the back and telling each other how much they're ruling this game so far, which I simply had to laugh at. Why? Well, Devens has made some moves for sure. No one's going to take his flowers away. The man has got stones as big as church bells to put his whole life on the line for a coin flip. Good on him. But Aubrey, Aubrey, the only thing you are in the running for ruling is worst plays of the game so far, or even worse yet, just simply not playing. I don't know. Maybe tonight will be your night. We'll see. And Joe and Jonathan are just simply frustrated after that last tribal, not just strategically, but of course emotionally. And that is a problem. Joe called Devens' behavior during tribal extremely in poor taste. Jonathan agreed with that, but immediately began setting his sights on a bigger threat, Ozzy. Devon's now, we're caught up to where we are on screen. He begins his day by getting up and running off into the woods to find out what kind of idol that he had won, right? During that Mr. Beast challenge. So, as you can see here, if you want to read it for yourself, it's an idol that's good only until there are 7 players left. Currently, there are 9 left. So it should be good for another couple tribals, you'd think. Then the Survivor editors lose their frickin' minds and they make us watch what you're seeing here. Devon's on the ground with his arms and feet up, screaming, telling everybody how much he's already won the game. Just making a fool of himself by doing all kinds of dumb things. Dancing around the water well and throwing water around. That was 5 minutes of my life, editors. I'll never get back. And it was totally wasted time, especially considering all the gameplay that was happening back at camp that you chose not to show us. Therefore, I give the Survivor editors 2 out of 10 for that move, and that also officially puts them on notice of being very close to being voted off the island. Shape up, team. Be better. Now, Joe here continues wearing his pissy pants about Devon's and sets off to once again tell everyone else that he's upset. Man, I had high hopes for Joe coming into this season. I hoped he had learned from his mistakes. I am now convinced Joe's social game is over. It's absolutely done. There's you can't take the shock paddles and breathe any life into it's done. Joe needs Eva here to talk him down from the bridge before jumping, but there's no one on this season who wants to continue to play that role for him. So he runs and tells Aubrey that he's upset with Devons. And cool. Okay, you're upset with Devons. What are you telling me for? Then, yep, who do we have on screen? He goes to Siri and says the same thing to Siri, that, oh gosh, I can't believe what he did, Bob Devins did. Siri wasn't having any of it. She reminds Joe that, hey, you think he attacked you during that? May I remind you that if Devins didn't do what he did at Tribal, you were going to vote him off. The Siri's fed up with Joe, just like I am. And then Siri gives us the one of the lines of the night. She says in a confessional, Joe lives at 500 Hypocrisy Hill in Fiji, meaning he's complaining about feeling attacked by Devons, all the while secretly planning to vote Devons out. Siri really is basically just telling us Joe is on thin ice and his time may be coming soon. Well, meanwhile, Tiffany, hearing all that, she tries to keep the peace. Tiffany knows. By the way, I'm gonna just stop right here. Tiffany has gained my respect this evening with true gameplay. This is the first time I've seen that from her in this. I mean, don't get me wrong. She's won an immunity challenge before. That's cool. That's gameplay. That's good. That's what you're supposed to do, right? Or at least try to do. And she tries all the time. But as far as her gameplay's gone, no big moves. This was a move, okay? Tries to keep the peace. She understands that there are 3 idols still in this game: Devons, Ozzy, and Rizzo. They're still active, and they could blow up the game at any minute. She reminds Siri of that. Siri says, yep, I've already been thinking about flushing them out. And then she says she refuses to let another idol avalanche take her out like it did in her season called Game Changers, when at a tribal, every single other person had an advantage to save them except her. And she was the very first in history survivor out of tribal, sent home, but never got a vote. No one had to vote her out. She was the last option. She said she's not going to let that happen again. We then get the privilege, some reason. This is Tiffany and still talking about Joe and Rizzo and all these people. And, don't worry about Joe. There's Rizzo. And then we have to, relive Siri with, by the way, Aubrey sitting right next to her, getting sent home. And then, she says, Ozzy, his idol, needs to go first. That's the first word she spoke against Ozzy. Pretty crazy. Actually, it's really, really crazy. It was a shocking thing to hear. But Tiffany had spoken some sense into her, and I think she needs to understand that she doesn't have any of the power of these idols that other people does. And by the way, might I remind you, fellow Survivor fan, this is the third week there's been an idol in play, and not a single person goes to look for it. No one. It's absolutely mind blowing to me. Once again, this is Survivor 50, and most of these, I mean, no, all of these players have played before. Even if it was only like Rizzo, like one other season, you still have to know that there's idols out there, and you still have to go look for them. No one's doing it. So, Siri and Tiffany commiserate with one another, and you know, Siri then has Ozzy come up. And because she had just said what she said with Tiffany, she said her and Tiffany both told Ozzy, "Hey, Ozzy." Now, I want you to listen real close here, friend, okay, as I go through this. She's going to tell Ozzy right now, Ozzy, people are going to throw your name out tonight. You should use your idol. And Ozzy says, I'm going to play my idol. What you said is right. Boy, since I heard it from both of you, I'm going to play my idol. Just put a little check mark by that in your notebook. We're going to come back to that. Okay. Ozzy says it. Then we go off. Then, for some reason, we got the privilege of watching these folks read their letters from home again. And that left me scratching my head thinking, did my brain quit working? We saw this last week. Why are we being forced to watch this again? Well, editors, I know I was down on you earlier. You redeem yourself here. You show us a segment that is truly telling of the people who are in it. Ozzy and Devins are in a hammock together. And Ozzy starts telling Devins about the situation that he lives with his father. He wanted his father to be with him, but his father couldn't because he lived in another country, and he felt really down about that, and he wanted to be a better person and a better player for his dad. See, friends, what this is called is playing emotionally. Okay. Now look, getting letters from home, that's kind of cool. Okay. Would I be happy if I was playing the game and my wife or kids, unfortunately, both of my parents have passed, but my mother or father, if someone sent me a letter, I would read it and yeah, I would figure, how can I use this to my advantage? That's what I'm thinking. I'm playing this game for $1 million, not to make friends. Okay. And I know my family loves me and I love them. And we would have agreed to me going out and doing this and us being separated for a time. That's what we would have agreed to. But time after time after time, people get emotional with these things, right? And I know a lot of people are going to say, "Well, you've never been out there. You don't know what it's like to go without food." But look, hey, I get you. I get you. I'm not saying the game's not tough. You never heard me say the game's not tough. Of course it's tough. But if I'm out there, I'm going to make it tougher. That's the goal. I need everyone playing emotionally so I can play strategically and win. And Ozzy falls directly into playing emotionally. Look how it's affecting him right now. And then he says, because of the pressure that this game is putting on him, he realized he hadn't even thought about his dad until he got this letter from home. Again, obviously, tells us a lot about Ozzy. He's playing emotionally. He even tells us here, yeah, man, I'm emotional. And he goes back to previous seasons when he said the same thing about his dad. And it hurts him even more, and he's more emotional. More tears. And then there's Devin. Look at Rick. That ponderous look on his face. Right? Rick Devens knows that if you're playing this game emotionally, you're letting your emotions rule you, you will never win the game of Survivor. So what do we see? Well, next we see Devens, who immediately starts fake crying for Ozzy, telling him how much he loves this new Ozzy. See those tears on his face, that water coming down his eyes, but he can't look Ozzy in the face because he knows he's lying, right? I love this new Ozzy. I want to see you go far in this game. And that's the biggest pile of BS he could have laid on Ozzy at the moment. But it's also a move that a GOAT Survivor player makes. Make Ozzy feel like you feel for him, like he can trust you. And then you go for the jugular. Well played, Mr. Devens. Ozzy fell for it hook, line, and sinker. All right. Now, we are at immunity challenge time. So they get tree mail, which Jonathan has there in his hand in the screen, and he reads it, an incredibly lame poem that basically tells them, and everyone knows what the poem means. They're about to face the Pyramid of Pain Stamina Challenge, where each player has to stand on little slats of wood on each side of a pyramid. You start off low, you keep moving higher at transition periods, and you have to balance yourself out in the ocean. The waters can be choppy or they can be calm. It just depends on the day. But you have to keep your feet on those planks no matter what. And then you'll have to keep moving up and moving up. This is another classic Survivor challenge again because the Survivor team has plumb run out of ideas at all for anything new in the challenge department. Just how it is. So Emily gets a wild hair after she hears that, grabs Devens and decides today's the day that we're going to take out Siri. That's great. Good plan. And then, well, yeah, she goes and tells everybody about it. Devens is like, you did what? And then we go to the challenge. The challenge commences. And as mentioned, it's a brutal balance test on a triangular platform. These little triangular platforms that are out here. And after you last so long at a certain level on the platform, you then like see there on the lower level where whoever that dude is, he's hanging by a toe, right? That's about the best you can do. Then you have to move up again, which by the way just adds more weight. The higher you get, the more you weigh, right? Just by gravity. So it makes it harder and harder. And then finally, you stand on that top, the brown top wooden part with both feet on it. If we still don't have a winner, it's up on one leg. And then people would drop like flies, right? So it appears at first glance that, we're going to have the same type of challenge that we've always had with this, where most of the people tend to make it, you know, a while. You see that they're all at the first level, no problems. But Siri's already doubled over, right? So we know, God love her, she's not gonna make it very long, and she will be the first one off. So now it's time to grab the plank, and we're going to transition up to the second level. So we all transition up to the second level. Siri's still there at this point, but not for long. There she is out. Okay, now we've transitioned up. That's all good. And now we're grabbing it because we are going to transition with all of our feet on the top. This is not going to be easy. And a lot of people end up swaying back and forth, and it's not looking good. A few people drop. We got Jonathan looking strong. Joe's having some trouble. Tiff, Tiff is Tiff. I'm telling you, in challenges like this, she seems unshakable. Emily looking fine. Everybody's looking good so far. Siri, Aubrey, and their sets are scheming chaos agent Devons. Now, if you knew your life was on the line after you just blew up a tribal, are you going to be the third one out in a challenge? Not unless you have to be, or unless you want to be. All right, well, let's keep going. We got people up. Oh no, people are down. We got Jonathan hanging. Look at that, by a thread. We got Emily in the back. Everybody's down. Tiffany wins the challenge. It appears at first glance that everyone stands on one leg. Tiffany outlasts everybody and appears to win, but that appearance turns out to be wrong and would make Survivor history. Right? We hug her. She's won. But in a shocking, shocking move, Tiffany looks over and says, "What's going on?" Jeff calls for a review of the challenge. It seems production has let him know something is afoot. See what I did there? Afoot. Afoot. Anyway. Well, when everybody was told to get up on one leg and Jeff started the challenge, Tiffany still had both feet on the plank. So in the review, production determines Tiffany's foot was still touching the platform during a transition. Her win was revoked. It makes her the first person in Survivor history to be disqualified from a challenge after winning it. That means the person who fell last would then win the challenge. Well, who fell last? Yeah, Tiff, it happened to you. It's hard to believe, but oh, it's Jonathan. It's Jonathan. The necklace instead goes to Jonathan. And then, friends, shocking to Buff Daddy, Mr. Jonathan is informed he's won a massive twist advantage. It's called the Power Broker Advantage. Now, what on earth could the Power Broker Advantage be? Well, how about the remaining players are going to pick rocks. There's going to be two colors. There's going to be two groups of four. Whichever color you pick, you go off with those four, and you head to separate beaches. There's going to be two tribal councils for each, one for each of those groups. Jonathan may visit both camps of people as many times as he wants during the day, and he gets to participate in the discussions and everything else as if he was part of that tribe, but he's safe. You think that's enough? No. Jonathan gets to attend both tribal councils for both groups. Right? You think that's enough? He gets to vote both tribal councils. This, my friends, blew Buff Daddy's socks off. That is such an amazingly powerful advantage Jonathan won because Tiffany didn't stand on one foot quick enough. Jonathan effectively becomes a one-man swing vote in two tribal councils. Yeah, it was shocking. It was awesome. It was chaos, and we need more of it. All right, I'm going to save you a lot of what happened here between back and forth and what happened in each of these groups. The remaining 8 players drew rocks, and they split into 2 groups of 4. Group A was Siri that you see there, Emily that you see there, Devons that you see there, and Tiffany. Now, on this group, let me remind you, Siri has 2 votes, right? She's got that added vote. Emily has nothing. Mr. Devons has the idol that he got, could play it, maybe not. And then there's Tiffany. No power. On the other side, we have Aubrey. No power. Joe. No power. Ozzy. Idol. Rizzo. Idol. We would later find out Jonathan floated between these two groups a total, his words, not mine, of 18 times during the day, back and forth, right? So we can just go through some of this. He's there talking to them, and he talks to Siri, he talks to Tiffany. What are we gonna do? And he's like, man, I don't know who to trust. And well, then Emily comes in and says, this is the night we get Siri. Remember, earlier, that was her plan. She knows exactly how they can do it, right? You know, so it's going to be Emily and it's going to be Devon's. And then it would also be Jonathan. That would be 3 against Siri's vote and Tiffany's vote. So Siri would be gone. It's a done deal. Siri is going home. Emily doesn't know Siri had an extra vote. Keep that in mind. She floats it by Devons. He's on board. She does not float it by Tiffany. Right? What they do is they just, ask Tiffany, what do you think? Who do you think should go? Blah, 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 that kind of thing. And of course, there's Emily giving us another Emily look. And she's like, yep, I'm safe. It's clearly Siri going home. Devons is like, absolutely. And then Emily asks to talk to Tiffany and Devons to leave. And then here you see, would you rather have me or Rick here? Emily says, Rick's got to go. Of course she's going to say that, right? Because you don't tell Tiffany that you're planning on taking out Siri. She knows that, right? So they keep talking and she tells him what the plan is to get Devons out and send him home, make him feel great, not use his idol, right? And then finally she says, but I think I can talk him into using his idol on me. For sure, 100%. He's going to do that. Just take that to the bank. He's going to do that, and then we'll just put all our votes on him, and he's gone. Tiffany loves it. Siri loves it, except Siri don't believe it. Jonathan loves it, but then Jonathan decides between those 18 trips back and forth, Emily is a bigger threat. That, my friends, is a bigger threat. Devons is still all about it. No, we're on plan. He doesn't really care. He knows he's safe. He's laughing. Tiffany and Jonathan, they're like, we know what's up. We know who it's going. That's going to be the end of it. We're true to each other to the end, which means nothing in this game at this point. Then we head over to the other. Group. Notice it says Ozzy, hidden immunity idol. The Miz will be tattooed across his forehead at this point. So Ozzy has decided he's the king of the game. He and Siri's have already won it. So he immediately grabs Aubrey, takes her back away from people and says, hey, Aubrey, you're going home tonight. You're a great player. And I love you as a person, but you're going home tonight. I just want to let you know that. And then we have a confessional where Ozzy tells us that he had to take her aside and tell her that because that's called jury management. See, now that he's done that with Aubrey, after that talk he had with her and telling her straight up she was leaving, she's certainly going to vote for Ozzy knowing that he's truthful. Oh, Ozzy, you clearly have not progressed strategically in this game at all over the years, my friend. You have made bad move after bad move. And unfortunately, friend, As I look on your beach, I don't see Siri there to save you. I'm very fearful that could have been the end of you here. And then Aubrey begins to take that as a Survivor player does. She goes and says, that was Ozzy saying, I'm going to go to the end with Siri. He basically told Aubrey his entire game, who had what advantages, that him and Siri had been together since he told Aubrey everything, right? So Aubrey basically gives him the eye and then says, "Oh, this ain't happening." And so she grabs Joe. She tells Joe, "He just handed me absolutely everything." Right? She tells Rizzo and Jonathan that they can take out the biggest physical threat this game has ever seen, a champion like none other. Only Boston Rob reigns more supreme, but he's not in this game right now. So they have a chance to get Ozzy out, even though he has an idol. This is the first move Aubrey has made in this game, and it's a GOAT move. And it came at a time when she had to make a GOAT move or else probably go home. So here we go. We've had this back and forth. Jonathan goes back. He goes back. He's telling people this. He's listening to what they're saying. He goes back to the other tribe. What's happening now? And it just keeps going. And it just keeps going. We can bring Aubrey in. We can get, all of these other people. Aubrey's feeling good about everything. Jonathan's still not sure. Why in the world will we vote Aubrey when we can vote Ozzy? And Joe's like, we don't want to vote Ozzy. We can't vote Ozzy. And then you got Siri over here saying, I know Rizzo. If somebody comes to Rizzo with a plan that says vote out, we're going to vote out Ozzy, he is going to go tell Ozzy. Well, guess what, friends? Time after time, we are shown a Rizzo who is torn that he should go tell Ozzy what's happening. But look at that. He doesn't. He stonewalls him. He does not tell Ozzy. Crazy. Absolutely crazy that he doesn't. So again, more talk, and we everybody's got plans, but it's time to go to tribal. So we hit the first tribal. There's, by the way, there's Stephanie, newest jury member, and there's Jonathan, and they notice not all the players are there. And we see who is there. And they ask Jonathan how all this power feels. Oh, it feels good, Mr. Jeff. It feels good. I loved what's happening. Emily, once again, if she would just say, yeah, I'm just going along with what people want, and this is that. No, she's got to give a diatribe on how strategy works in this game, and she's got it all understood, right? Siri's like, oh, honey, you don't understand. You might think you've got the numbers. And Jeff's like, do you think you got the numbers? Jonathan's like, do we have the numbers? Devins is like, did I leave the iron on? He's like, yeah, I'm playing chess, and everybody else here are playing Uno. They're not even playing checkers. Like, they're just slapping cards down. They don't know what's going on, right? And they're all in it. Siri's got stink eyes. She's not feeling it. She's not liking what everybody's saying about what's happening here. Devins is like, I got an idol. I'm playing it. That's it. I'm safe. You don't have to worry about it. And, Emily keeps talking and digging her hole bigger and bigger and bigger. Tiffany, those looking like, I don't know. Are we making the right deal here? Three's like, this thing is over. So it's time to vote. And we vote. Devin stands up, uses his idol. He's safe. Gets the first vote. And then Siri gets her vote. Right? Uh-oh, now they're thinking, are they finally going to get out the person that everyone in the world wants to win this game, right? Well, maybe not everyone. But the math ain't mathin', as Siri says, because they realize, wait a minute, there's too many votes in there. And it comes down to a tie. They have to revote. Now you can only vote for Emily or Siri. And because she still has the 2 votes, she double votes Emily, and Emily joins the jury. She is gone. So she immediately goes and sits with the jury, right? And we see, Devin's voted Siri. There's 2 Emily votes, right? All right, enough of that. Let's bring in the next group. So there they are: Ozzy, Rizzo, Aubrey, Joe, Jonathan. Easiest vote in the world here, Aubrey, right? At Tribal, everyone makes Ozzy feel safe. Just he's safe. There's you're good, brother. It's Aubrey. There's no other hope here, right? For Aubrey, she's done. She's absolutely done. You could not be any safer, Ozzy. So Ozzy starts playing emotional. He talks about this being an emotional game. Jonathan, like a viper, is coiling up at this point. Rizzo, like a viper, is coiling up at this point. They know what's going on in their minds. And Ozzy is clueless. He talks about emotions. He talks about love of the game. He talks about, I played a game before where I just wanted to win challenges and wanted to beat Boston Rob and blah blah blah. Even Joe looks at him. Joe, like a viper's coiled up. And at Tribal, by making Ozzy feel safe, and playing with his emotions, he makes the faithful decision not to play his idol. And we vote. And he votes Aubrey because that's where we're all voting, and I know that. I didn't even have to use my idol. Ozzy then is unanimously voted out. And right here, look at that. F me. That's one, I think, of 3 F bombs that he drops. His reaction can be described only as raw and devastating. With 2 or 3 F bombs out there. There. F, guys. Rizzo says, I'll explain later. And he says, nah, you can't explain it to me. And you can't, right? There's no explaining it to him. And he takes a long time out with Jeff. And he looks back at him and says, y'all have hurt me in ways you don't know. Ozzy, man, when you watch this season back later, would you please watch it with someone who truly understands this game and is willing to tell you exactly how you keep making dumb decision after dumb decision after dumb decision? Oh, and Ozzy, do Buff Daddy a favor. From the heart, from someone who has watched every season, including all of yours, never play this game again. Never. I don't care how much they offer you. I don't care if they said, Ozzy, we're going to take you to Final 3 right away, which would be a lie. They would never do that. But even if they did that, Ozzy, don't do it. You have done all you are capable of in this game, and you would simply be taking up a spot of a possible new GOAT player. Because, friend, all you're going to do once again is go home with another idol in your pocket. And that, friends, takes us to the end of the show. So it's now part of the show of this show That takes us to the end of Survivor. Now's the part of the show where Buff Daddy plays out the players of the game. So, who is our winner of Best Strategic Player this game? Aubrey. Aubrey played the best strategic game. She engineered Ozzy's blindside. She convinced multiple players to turn on a legend. That looks good on a resume. She neutralized a physical threat in Ozzy, who had an idol and momentum, and a savior in Siri. Aubrey did that. She used the twist to her advantage, adapting instantly to the new tribe configuration. Aubrey did that. She maintained relationships across both sides of the split. Aubrey did that. And she protected her long term win conditions by removing someone who could beat her in every single challenge and clearly at Final Tribal. Aubrey's moves that she made this show finally, are the most strategically impactful that she's made in any episode yet. Well played, Aubrey. All right. Who's our social player of the game? It's Siri. Of course, it's still Siri. Everyone still trusts her, even when they shouldn't. Joe vents to her. Tiffany confides in her. Emily targets her because she's so socially powerful. She remains the center of camp dynamics, whichever tribe she's in, even when the idols and twists swirl around her. Even her humor, Joe lives at 500 Hypocrisy Hill, it keeps relationships warm. She's seen as a stabilizing force. That's why Emily feared her. I don't know why more people don't. Siri's social gravity is unmatched. Who is playing the best overall game after tonight? Mr. Jonathan is Buff Daddy's pick. Why Jonathan? He's not done anything up to this point. Well, he won immunity after Tiffany's disqualification, right? He still had to stay up there the longest. And if you remember, in his season, the water was immediately choppy, and he won this same challenge in that year. He received the power broker advantage, the strongest twist of the season, and he used it to his advantage. Now, again, I have to stay with the fact that he should have played to get Siri out, not Emily. If you had a set of scales and you filled them with threat, right? And you said this is Siri's threat and this is Emily's threat, it would go like this and it would throw Emily off. She wouldn't even be in consideration. So that was really not a great move on Jonathan's part, but I think it'll work out for him in the long run. Also, it bonded him more, a lot more, with Siri. And guess what? Just like her, Jonathan doesn't have an idol. She might be looking to team up with players like him to begin taking out the Rizzos and the Aussies. He got to vote at both tribals that directly shaped both eliminations. He identified Emily as a threat, right? And obviously that's what he called and that's what he got. He got what he wanted. He participated in Ozzy's blind side. That's going to look again, just like Aubrey, that's going to look really, really good on his resume if he makes it to the end. And he improved his position from a bottom dweller, just somebody hanging on to Joe, to a kingmaker in one episode. Jonathan had the most influential episode of any player this season, period. That's overall best. That's best social player. That's strategic player. Friends, I'm not even going to go into who the worst player is. He got voted off tonight. You know, this was one of the best episodes of Survivor I've witnessed. I can't get enough of the twists. And the twists are coming at a lightning pace. Now, I've talked to a lot of people about this season, and they seem to kind of be upset with all the twists. And what I'm hearing is they keep telling me this season just doesn't seem like classic Survivor. And to that, I say, then stop watching because in truth, this is exactly what this game needed to shake things up. Just continuing to get the status quo season after season after season has left me bored with them. I have not been bored in 11 episodes this season. I've loved every minute of never knowing who's going home each episode. I've loved all the twists that the players have had to deal with. Isn't this game called Outplay, Outwit, Outlast? It's not Outbore. I just love that the game of Survivor, I just love this game so much that I am going to always be for freshening up the game any way you can, as often as you can. All right, friends, let me know how you are liking season 50 so far. Head down into the comments and let me know. Also, did you agree with my picks? What did you think about Tiffany ending up losing this challenge? But clearly, the video showed that she was in the wrong. But still, what a devastating loss. The whole episode could have been different had she not done that. And also, once again, I have to show appreciation for the people that are taking that 7.60 seconds it takes to hit the like button. Let me know what you like about it down in the comments. Hit dislike if you hate it. You're an idiot. You don't know Survivor. Okay, that's good. Let me know. Or please just hit that subscribe button, and that way you will get notifications every time that I put out another episode. Not just of following Survivor, but all the other places that my mind takes me each and every week, which is what this show is really all about. So, friends, until next show, remember, and I'm talking to somebody specific here, going home with an idol in your pocket makes you look like a really poor player. Going home with an idol in your pocket 2 times proves you're a poor player beyond a shadow of a doubt. So long, Ozzy. And so long, friends. I'll see you on the next episode.